Good morning to you all and welcome back to Concerned Citizens Media. I got some news to share with you and a couple of videos uh, at the end. So let's first read the news for December 14, 2020. The United States called for the immediate withdrawal of Eritrean troops from neighboring Ethiopia Tigray region, following credible reports of their involvement in a civil conflict. So Ethiopia and Eritrea, both countries denied about this, but uh, after a while, the Americans and others discovered Eritrean involvement in the conflict. So now they're calling for immediate withdrawal of the Eritrean forces from Ethiopia. Life-threatening and inhumane treatment against Oromos continue in Oromia region. In Western Hararghe, in the district of Doba, Kabale, Badu, 10 Oromos residential homes were burned down to ashes, and several innocent Oromos were arrested by Oromia Special Unit and the local police force. Eyewitness reported to Oromia Media Network that the government security forces accused locals supporting Oromo Liberation Front. The Abiy Ahmed administration uses OLF as excuse, just like TPLF, for the atrocities they are taking against peaceful Oromos in various parts of Oromia. Within the last 2.5 years of Abiy Ahmed administration, no one was accounted for all the horrible attacks and the crimes conducted against Oromos. The Prosperity Party, the old OPDO, has exposed the Oromos in similar sufferings the OPDO engaged in the last 27 years. OPDO, Oromo Prosperity Party, now has changed its name, but not its criminal conduct against Oromos. Tigrayans and their supporters held massive protests against the war in the Tigray region. Protesters in Washington, D.C., London, Australia demanded United Arab Emirates stop bombing Tigray children and mothers. They were also chanting, Abiy Ahmed is a killer, bombing children is a war crime, shame on you, United Arab Emirates, stop supporting the dictator, Isaias must go, stay out of Tigray, and other slogans were expressed in this protest. The son of junta, Mr. Abiy Ahmed, stopped in Mekelle to appreciate his military personnel for war operation in Tigray region. He bragged about the Situation Room and the advanced technology he used during the war operations. He also called on residents of Tigray region to expose the TPLF senior officers to the military and to the newly formed Tigray administration. He was not in a peacemaking clause, but in a threatening special armed force uniform. His appearance in this uniform is depicting that if you dare to challenge me and my prosperity party, you will be crushed without justice. He is saying, be careful not to mess with me or my prosperity party. That is the message he wants to send by appearing in a military uniform. That's like a military dictator. In the meantime, Sudanese Prime Minister Dr. Abdullah Hamdok stopped by Addis Ababa for unknown reason and flew back home just after 2 hours. This trip could be about the cross-border attacks and Sudanese soldiers' presence on Ethiopian soil. Eyewitnesses are saying that Sudanese soldiers occupied the vast, fertile land from Ethiopia after Ethiopia started the war on Tigray region. And this trip could be a mediation attempt by Sudanese ongoing conflict in the Tigray region. So that was a very short visit in Addis Ababa by Sudanese Prime Minister. And this is a tweet from Herman Cohen. This is the American guy. He was very important player during TPLF arriving in Addis Ababa. He was a mediator. He allowed them to be the mastermind at the time. He allowed them to enter Addis Ababa. That's in 1991 when they came. But now he's still involved in politics. But so this is his tweet. Herman J. Cohen at Cohen on Africa. United States government report of Eritrean soldiers in Tigray supporting Ethiopian government effort to defeat the TPLF army are plausible. For Eritreans, anything less than the total defeat of their long-time TPLF enemy is unacceptable. Eritrean dictator Isaias Afewerki and Abiy Ahmed have been committing heinous crimes in Oromia since December 2018 with the pretext of law enforcement operation after declaring unconstitutional state of emergency. International community must address these issues and urgently sanction the two regimes and the dictators. The longer you take without intervention, the more disastrous the outcome would be for the whole Horn of Africa and beyond. So this is a tweet from Herman Cohen expressing concern on the conflict of in the Tigray region and advising, to take action on both Abiy Ahmed and the dictator Isaias Afewerki, to sanction them without taking time. Another President Donald Trump's attempt to overturn the 2020 election results failed in the Supreme Court. Attorney generals from 17 states couldn't convince the Supreme Court with credible evidence about fraud and irregularities they are claiming in this election process. The attorneys attempted to disqualify the election results of the states of Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Georgia. President Trump and his supporters attempted to nullify citizens' legitimate vote, failed at least 59 times. Their unfounded claims and conspiracies are creating chaos in the country. They are attempting to distort Biden's legitimate election win. America is not Africa, where the ruling class claims are mostly confirmed by the courts controlled by the same governing party. Thanks to the framers of the Constitution, mostly our court system, the army, the federal government system, the police, and others are not interfering in the election process and its outcome. So if it's in Africa, you know, if the case is taken to the court will side with the ruling party, whoever in power at the time. Just like Trump is. If Trump is in Africa, that attitude might work for him, but not in America. America is the justice system is independent, even though appointed by him. They don't care. They just follow the Constitution and the evidence in the hand. So this is not Africa. This is the United States of America. To restore trust, our democracy and credibility, Trump and his entire cabinet must concede to their defeat and leave their position with respect and dignity. That is a suggestion from Concerned Citizens Media. We will not have a voice in the global elections concerns if we are unable to keep our own house in order. So just like we are pioneers of democracy, and we are talking about freedom and free election. So how are we gonna say how are we gonna comment on the others' election if we are continue in this mess? So it's gonna destroy our standing in the global stage. It should be resolved quickly and transfer the power to the winner. If we don't do this, if we don't keep our house clean, we will not have a voice to criticize others about their election. This one is very good news. Federal FDA, Food and Drug Administration, approved vaccinations are on the way to our nation's hospitals starting today. This is a very important and encouraging news for us and to the global community who have been subjected to this dangerous virus for almost a year. But we must continue our preventive conduct until all of us receive the vaccination. Our research scientists, their supporting staff, and all who participated in the discovery and in the preparation of these vaccines deserve big thank you. It is a job well done. That should be appreciated. So that's the part of the reading part of the news. Now I will share a couple of videos, then conclude today's presentation. Let's see now. This one is Tigrayans and their supporters protesting against the war. It's a long video, but I'll show you a little bit and move to the next video. I think they are in front of United Arab Emirates Embassy. Could be in the DC.
Stop bombing kids! Stop bombing children! Stop bombing mosques! Stop bombing church! UAE! Stop bombing kids! Stop bombing children! UAE! Stop bombing kids! Stop bombing kids! Okay, and also dinner. UAE! UAE! Stop war in Tigray! Stop war in Tigray! Stop bombing Tigray! Stop bombing Tigray! Stop bombing our people! Stop killing Tagaru! Stop killing Tagaru! Drone attack in Israel! Stop drone attack! UAE! Stop drone attack! Stop drone attack!
Stop drone attack!
UAE! Stop killing children!
Stop killing children!
Stop killing children!
Stop killing children!
UAE! Stop killing children! Stop bombing Tigray! Stop bombing Tigray! Thank you. Bombing civilians is war crime! UAE! UAE! Bombing civilians is war crime! Bombing civilians is war crime! UAE! Stop war in Tigray! Stop war in Tigray! Stop bombing civilians! Stop bombing civilians! Stop killing civilians! Stop killing civilians! UAE! Bombing civilians is war crime!
Bombing civilians is a war crime.
UAE, since 4th of November, because of your should be used to help poor countries. Your wealth has been used since November 4, killing children, women, and displacing poor people from their homeland. You are participating in war crime in Tigray. Stay out from Tigray.
Stay out of Tigray.
Hands off your aid from Tigray. You are devastating, killing civilians because you use your drones. You cannot share your drones to destroy our people. You can have friends. You can hope. You can use your words to do whatever. But don't use your drones to kill our people. This is war crime. This is war crime. This is war crime. You are implicated in genocide in Tigray. You will pay the price directly or indirectly. History will hold you responsible. You are killing civilians. You make our people life miserable. This is 21st century. You are part of the genocide in Tigray. History will hold you responsible. God, Allah, will pay you the price. Even though we are not capable to do anything harm or anything now, but Allah, God, will pay you in kind. You are participating in war crime. You are facilitating and helping genocide in Tigray. You are war criminals. Stay out of Tigray. Stop bombing civilians in Tigray. Stop sharing your drones to destroy poor people in third world countries. Shame on you, UAE! Shame on you, Shame on you, UAE! You are participating in war crime. You are participating in genocide. You are destroying civilians, Tigrayans' livelihood.
Okay, that's a sample of the demonstration in front of United Arab Emirates, I believe in Washington, D.C. They are making their case, protesting against United Arab Emirates participation in the conflict. Okay, that's enough for this video. I will have another one. Let me see. Okay.
Morocco and Israel at a...
Okay, this is about diplomatic relation between Israel and Morocco. So Morocco is joining or tying itself, not tying, but it's creating diplomatic relation with Israel, as is the fourth country. What is interesting is the incentives they are getting, and just like last time Sudan recognized Israel and they formed a diplomatic relation. It's poor poor African country, and there's a transition. They don't have the means to sustain. So America used, the removal from the blacklist, offer them that, and plus some financial support. Sudan is okay. So they are increasing the number of recognition, the number of countries recognizing Israel, which is good, but it should be based on uh, dialogue, not by bribing, but is Morocco is also getting something for doing this. So America is helping, Trump is helping by recognizing. Let's listen anyway. This is
Normalized ties in a US brokered deal. In exchange, the US has recognized Morocco's sovereignty over the disputed Western Sahara region. It's the fourth Arab country to agree to diplomatic relations with Israel. President Trump announced the deal on Twitter. Let's get straight to Washington. Our White House correspondent, Kimberly Halkett is with us at the White House. In a moment, we'll speak to Harry Fawcett, who's in West Jerusalem. Kimberly, what is the White House saying about this deal?
Yeah, well, as you mentioned, the U.S. president making this dramatic shift in U.S. policy on Twitter. Here's what the U.S. president had to say. Today I signed a proclamation recognizing Moroccan sovereignty over the Western Sahara. Morocco's serious, credible, and realistic autonomy proposal is the only basis for a just and lasting solution for enduring peace and prosperity. Another historic breakthrough today. Our two great friends, Israel and the Kingdom of Morocco, have agreed to full diplomatic relations, a massive breakthrough for peace in the Middle East. And what we're learning is that this deal was resolved, or at least secured, in a telephone call that reportedly took place between the U.S. president several hours ago and the King Mohammed VI from the kingdom, of course. Full diplomatic relations between Morocco and Israel are what this deal will mean. As part of the deal, the U.S. is recognizing the kingdom's sovereignty over the Western Sahara. And as you mentioned, this is the fourth Arab country, though, to normalize relations with Israel as part of this administration's Abraham Accords initiative. Now, I participated in a phone call, a background call with Jared Kushner, who is the senior advisor to the president's son-in-law. What he said this is going to mean in terms of the deal is this will allow Israeli airlines to have up to 20 direct air flights using Moroccan airspace. There will be deeper business ties, and also this will mean an establishment of embassies eventually in the respective nations. Now, this is something apparently that has been under discussion for some time, Adrian. We know that the Israeli government was consulted repeatedly. The U.S. has been pushing for this. What the belief is this builds on some of the established relations already in place. It will allow for greater stability in the region, according to the Trump administration. But there's a big but here, and that but is that this is a big shift in U.S. policy for an administration that's on its way out. As we know, the U.S. election has occurred. President-elect Biden takes office January 20th. And so this is the United States being now the only Western nation to recognize Moroccan sovereignty over the Western Sahara. It was formerly controlled by Spain. It's now claimed by Morocco, despite international dispute about that. So there's going to be a tough choice for President-elect Biden when he comes in. Is he going to affirm what Donald Trump has done, or is he going to have to make the decision to reverse it? This is going to be the tough challenge, and that's why this makes this even a greater surprise that the U.S. president has done this, knowing that it is a big departure from U.S. policy in the past and knowing that it could be reversed come January 20th.
Our White House correspondent Kimberly Halkett there, live in Washington. Let's go to West Jerusalem then. Al Jazeera's Harry Fawcett is there. What's Israel saying about this, Harry?
Well, I haven't seen any official reaction to this just yet, but certainly this is obviously part of a wider strategy that has paid off so much over the last 4 years of such close alliance with the United States administration, the administration of Donald Trump. We've already seen the other three normalization deals with United Arab Emirates, with Bahrain and Sudan, and now we have this one. As far as Benjamin Netanyahu is concerned, he has conducted a strategy since the US election of, while welcoming Joe Biden and congratulating Joe Biden, being fairly muted in the terms that he's used. He didn't in his initial congratulations even refer to him as the president-elect, while at the same time still being just as effusive as ever about Donald Trump. There seemed to be, in many analysts' opinion, the possibility for more to be done for Israel by the Trump administration, even in its dying days, and this would seem to be something very much along those lines. So now a fourth Arab nation, Muslim nation, normalizing its ties with Israel.
Harry Fawcett there in West Jerusalem. Let's bring in Al Jazeera's senior political analyst Marwan Bashara, who's here in Doha. Marwan, let me read you that tweet once again. Today I signed a proclamation recognizing Moroccan sovereignty over the Western Sahara. Morocco's serious, credible and realistic autonomy proposal is the only basis for a just and lasting solution for enduring peace and prosperity. What do you make of this?
Well, let's call it what it is, the imperial proclamation, right? I mean, in the end of the day, Washington is using its influence around the world on behalf of Israel. Or rather, Israel is outsourcing American power for its own benefit in the greater Middle East. And hence you see that America would change its policy, with the spin of a pen, as it were, in favor of Israel. And so anyone at this point in time, after we've seen how this is really meant to, sell arms, sell sophisticated fighter jets, or, proclaim a sovereignty or a border or a non-entity as in the Western Sahara, it's not peace. It is what it is. It's quid pro quo. That's the thing that President Trump never knew how to pronounce when it came to the Ukraine. Now he should know that that's exactly what his policy is. It is not a peace policy. It is a policy meant to serve Israel or on behalf of Israel by giving out all sorts of rewards, proclamations in the favor of this or that party, and then calling it peace.
And what are we to make of Morocco's motivations here?
Well, Morocco is gaining an American recognition, and as we all know, an American recognition is worth a lot in today's world, because not too many people are paying attention to the United Nations, really, in the end of the day. And we've seen that, for example, the American recognition of Jerusalem as Israel capital, of course, went on, and not too many people made too much noise of it. Now America is recognizing Moroccan sovereignty over the Western Sahara. So really, all in all, America is acting unilaterally, is acting without consultation with the allies, without consultation with the United Nations, but always on behalf of Israel. Outsourcing that kind of influence is really
this is a Western Sahara.
Tricky business, because in the
Morocco
future,
is
people will get the impression, right or wrong, I think it's more complicated than a simple impression, that Israel controls America. That there is an Israeli lobby that is in control in Washington. And if you need anything from the United States, all what you're going to have to do is do this and that towards Israel, and Israel will deliver the goods, as it were. Because that's exactly what we're seeing now. We're seeing F-35s, the most sophisticated fighter jet in the world, being sold if you normalize relations with Israel. You get your sovereignty extended if you recognize or normalize relations with Israel, and so on and so forth. We're seeing America, a mercenary, a diplomatic mercenary on behalf of Israel. And Morocco, for its own very narrow interest in the Sahara, has benefited on that in return for the time being, consulates in Jerusalem or Tel Aviv, for that matter, and perhaps, future relations. So it's realpolitik, as it were. It's not great, because in the end of the day, as we all know, Morocco, like the Emirates, like Bahrain, are making peace not with Israel. They're making peace with the Israeli occupation of Palestine.
Where does this leave the incoming Biden administration? In a bind?
Not really, because The reaction from the Biden administration so far has been to commend the Abraham Accords, as they were called, between Bahrain, the United Arab Emirates, and Israel under the auspices of the Trump administration. They're not going to go into too much details and headaches into really seeing how this does change or how much it changes the balance of power and this is not great for peace or for Palestinian rights and why this complicates the peace process moving forward, complicates the two-state solution moving forward. It emphasizes and it radicalizes the Israel right-wing policies towards Palestine. So none of that is really looked at by the Biden administration. A Biden administration will be looking at, oh, good, we have 4 countries normalizing relations with Israel. That can always be good. And we will see later about how we will reward the Palestinians by opening their office in Washington, by relaunching some of the aid to the Palestinians, and perhaps even starting a dialogue with the PLO in order to please them. All the while, Israel continues its occupation, continues its settlements of the Palestinian territory, continues and deepens its control of Palestine, and the Biden administration is just going to have to live with that. And we're already hearing from a number of people who are taking high positions in the Biden administration that it will be paying a bit less attention to Israel-Palestine, a bit more attention to Iran and other issues in the Middle East.
Al Jazeera senior political analyst Mohammed Bashar. Many thanks indeed, Mohammed.
Okay, that's Israel and Morocco diplomatic relation, and Morocco is gaining the recognition sovereignty over Western Sahara. That's like, if you make a deal with Israel, we will give you this, we'll give you this. He will refuse if you get such kind of benefit or financial benefit, recognition, whatever it is. So, and Israel is also benefiting by gaining recognition from Arab countries. The more Arabs join or recognizing Israel, the less vote for Palestinian issues. Palestinians keep losing their land, and the support of the Arab leagues. So the power is diminishing, their land is diminishing. I don't know what will be the end. So that's it, and so Morocco will be the 4th country to recognize Israel, and we will see who will be next. Maybe the kingdom, the Saudi Arabia, or other dependent country economically, like Sudan, something like Sudan, or somebody is looking for the recognition of something, maybe joining the club. I don't have any issue for Israel creating more friends through the right way, not by giving bribes or all that kind of financial bribes, or removing from some kind of list, or giving recognition. This is like bribing. Anyway, that's all I have from Concerned Citizens Media for today. Thank you for listening, and I will be back with other videos and news. So long, everyone.